Hi, welcome to the next part of my Wood Elves vlog. This is a bit of a wrap up of what was in the first video. My initial batch is done. I'm really excited with how it's looking. I hope you like it. We're going to go through each of the units, what they look like, and then a little bit of what's going to be next, which you've already seen, but like, they look cool. That's red. Whoa. But yeah, enjoy. So the first batch is done. I'm really happy with how it's come out. From the first video, this is everything that was like started or at least conceptualized, I guess. The flying mage, the mounted mage, was mountless at the start of this. But I had my war dancers and I had the archers started. And I'm stoked with them. I'm going to go through unit by unit and give you a bit of a close up of some of the individual models and talk about what I've done with them. And I hope you enjoy it. This is a cool. This isn't the end of the project. There's a few more units to do that I'll show off at the end of this video, I think. Because well, you've seen them already, but I've got them spread and they look funky in some colours, and I'm excited to get to them next. So yeah, we'll go through each unit, have a little chat, and then talk about what's next. So starting with the monopose archers, this is a big beautiful block. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. This is probably going to slide. Yeah. Okay, we're back with blue teched bases. I might magnetize these at some point to their movement trays. I've done that with some of my other fantasy stuff. But it is a bit of a faff, and I don't know if I can really be asked, to be honest. But yeah, these look sick. I'm really happy with the unit. I think they're like mismatched colours. Well, so, mismatched colours. Perfect, nicely coordinated, mismatched coloured colours work really nice. Give a really cool effect for like a militia. What is essentially a militia unit in my eyes. These are elves that aren't particularly in fighting units. They're just the archers from the glade drawn up under the banner of the lunar moon, the lunar arrows. I'm not 100% on NM, but it's definitely going that way. My girlfriend gave me a cool suggestion for it after seeing the flag. That was just inspired by some of the iconography in the army book. There's some cool stuff, and just a nice simple design. But yeah, I'm really happy with how these look. The colours are popping. Those little checkerboards on a few of the hoods just give a nice little separation of colour. The non-metallic metal, the gold, like it's definitely not perfect, but I am happy with the look. I think it reads, in my eyes at least. Maybe because I've painted it for so long and I've convinced myself that it reads as non-metallic metal. I think it looks cool. There's a couple of head swaps across the unit you can see that again just break it up that little bit, gives a nice bit of variety. So yeah, I think they're really cool. I'm really happy with how they've turned out. I'm not gonna lie, at the end they were a fucking slog. I was getting sick of doing them. But that in mind, that's why I'm really happy to have them done. Have that big block. This is the majority of models in this army. So it's nice to just have that out of the way, and now I can eat dessert. I've had my fucking mashed potato, and now I'm onto everything else. But yeah, cool. So that's my archers. Let's have a look at the war dancers. All right, I'm gonna have to go model by model with these. But again, super stoked with these guys. That's the leader. He definitely got the fanciest pants. Painting Harlequin diamonds is not my favorite thing. There's definitely some bits up in here that, like, if you looked closely and did the math, you'd be like, what's going on? But for a battlefield look, when he's in a unit, when he's dead, uh, it's not gonna matter, and I think he's looking pretty sweet. Um, I tried to do some like wood tattoos, like body paint on him. So he's got a little serpent coiling up his arm, and then a little star on the chest over his little nipples. But yeah, happy with him as my champion. And then let's go about one by one, I guess. She's really cool. She's got a really cool pose. I don't think rules wise they can have. I don't know when they could have two-handed weapons, but none of the rule sets I've looked at they can have two-handed weapons. But whatever, like they're just a unit equipped. However, I was really happy with how some of my shields came out. So in one of my last videos, I made some shields, I grabbed some shields. They've ended up with just a bit of a mix. I wanted to use all the different designs. But this one's my favourite, I think, the little flower painted on. I painted like wood grain on the inside of all the shields, and I think that came out nice. This guy's really cool. These big chainmail pants. That was definitely like a lot more non-metallic than the others. And again, it's definitely not perfect, but I like the look. I think it looks nice. These two, I'm gonna bring these up together because they're like the same guy but different. I assume I have no idea who sculpted these. If you know, let me know. I assume this is one of those models where they use the same base model and then go from there. So they've got some nice shields as well. I did like an eagle and another dragon, and then just some miscellaneous lines. But yeah, I think they're cool. We got David Bowie. He originally had like gold bits and then yellow armor, and I was like, "What are you doing, man? Like, why are you making this difficult for yourself?" So he's just full metal. But he also looks. My girlfriend says he looks like Polnareff from JoJo's, which I do also see. This guy's maybe one of my favourites. Well, I say maybe one of my favourites. He definitely is, especially the big oval shield. I've said in the last videos how I really appreciate the Celtic vibe of the Wood Elves. So that's a nice note. And in another setting, in another army, I would have got a ton. I would have tried to get a full set of these for certain units, because I think that would look really cool. That is still something I could still do. Who knows? Little Javelin Boy. He was meant to have like a shield on his back, but I cut the peg off because there was no room at all. And then this guy, he's angry and he's got some stripy trousers and a little shield on his back. This is a really funky design. The like shuriken. The old Citadel shields and design is just very fun. A lot of cool stuff to play around with. But yeah, War Dancers. They're sick. They're a really cool unit. Happy to have a nice. Very exciting that each model was totally different. Whereas compared to this, the dichotomy of man. But yeah, that's the War Dancers. Let's have a look at this big mage. This is one I'm really, really happy with. Not that I'm not happy with the rest of it, but this model is definitely a bit of a like pinnacle of this project for me. From the like creation side of it, of like having the merge and hunting down a mount and being excited by the possibilities of all the different mounts I could have in this army book. Yeah, it's really fun. The kit bashing, the getting to where it is now was a really fun process. So it's very cool. I really like it. The tiger pattern I settled on. I wasn't sure what big cat to do for the body, but it made sense to carry the orange over. And not I avoided orange on the mount, on the merge, except his little tassels on his shoes. And it nicely pops with everyone. The wings, I thought about doing some like layered patterns rather than just black. And I might come back and do that, but to be honest, it's a tiger. It's black. It's orange and black, and white and yellow, and a few other colours. But I like it. My little fellas, little babies, all tigered up as well. The merch himself. There's definitely a few bits where, to be honest, I cut some corners. But I'm really happy with the overall look. I think the white looks nice, the grey hair's cool, and he just stands out nicely. He gives a nice commanding figure. And yeah, I think he's a really nice centerpiece to this first little bit. Ooh. And rounds this out. This could split into two units. I arguably need to do like one more guy and maybe alternate command options, but again, I don't know if I ever want to see one of these monopause guys again, or at least pen one, especially anytime soon. But this is my first little batch. Is really cool. I think it rounds out to around 1,000 points in fourth edition, which is vaguely the army book I'm building out of at the moment. So it's a nice little starting point, but I'm really excited to get onto those next steps. All right, so my other units are spread up in the cabinet, waiting to fill out. There's the wreck of a chariot over here, but we won't talk about him for a minute. My dragon, I'm going to leave to the end. Get most things done before I treat myself to building it. Well, I say treat myself to building it. It's going to be a slog. But yeah, my Glade Guard sprayed up with a nice purple. The Scouts in a yellow, Weirwatchers as well, and then Scar the Falconer. And I'm thinking, so these guys are going to be predominantly purple, they're going to be predominantly yellow, they're going to be predominantly orange. He's just going to be himself, and same with the characters, but I think that will give me a really nice visual pop across the army with the archers in that like mixed colour, the war dancers being the war dancers, and then these units being a bit more colour specific, or at least zoned in as part of the scheme. I think it will look really smart at the end. Sweet. I hope you enjoyed that little breakdown of where the project is right now, or like what's got done. I really enjoyed doing it. Appreciate you putting up with me just gushing over my own models. Very self-absorbent, but it's got to be done. But yeah, I'm glad to have this batch done, so I can really start chunking through the next bits. I think I've got a nice pattern of now I've got these done, I can get my scouts done, and then a character, then my Glade Guard, and then another character, my Weirwatchers, and then the last character. So it's going to be probably Score, Chariot, Dragon. But yeah, that'll be really fun. Really looking forward to getting to the dragon at the end of it. Not looking forward to building it. I have built one old school dragon before, and it's definitely an interesting prospect. But yeah, looking forward to it. All right, appreciate you watching. Thanks for sticking around. See you next time.